Here it is in the flesh, you guys. The brand new 16-inch MacBook Pro base model of the new M1 chip. The newest edition of the MacBook lineup that Apple has released is glorious, and I was lucky enough to review the base model compared to my 2020 MacBook Pro 13-inch laptop. A big thank you to my friend Eric for letting me borrow his brand new 16-inch MacBook Pro, the base model version. Our specs are basically the same, so just keep that in mind. So let's start off with the design of both of these laptops. The biggest difference is the notch on the top of the screen, along with the thinner bezels on the side compared to my 13-inch MacBook Pro, which has the thicker sides. The new design looks fantastic, looks super refreshing, and I like that they tried to, in a way, mimic the iPhone look to make their design across their iPhone to their computers look the same, and I like the direction that Apple is taking with this new design. The engraved MacBook Pro on the bottom of this laptop is a very nice touch, along with the overall laptop just being thicker in design. I didn't like that Apple for quite some time was going with the thinner look, even with their iPhones. Previous versions like the iPhone 6 and 7, they were going with a very thin design, and it just didn't feel like or look like a traditional Apple product. So now that they've gone back to their roots, more of their older looks, and that even their iPhones are thicker, and now that their computers are following that, I really dig that. And again, I like that they're trying to make the design seamless across all of their different devices. Along, of course, with the extra ports on either side, which I'm really happy that they brought back these extra ports that we needed, especially the HDMI port and the SD card and the USB, because having to use a dongle on my 13-inch MacBook Pro, it's not the worst thing, but it is a little bit annoying because you have so many cables on one side, and if you forget the dongle, then you're kind of screwed. You don't have access to those extra ports, so I like that they finally brought these features back. The keyboard and trackpad are also different from my first gen MacBook Pro. The trackpad, I guess the best way to describe it is a bit more tactile and responsive to the touch. It feels extremely smooth. It's kind of tough to say over YouTube, but you can definitely feel the difference when physically using the trackpad from my 13-inch MacBook Pro. While the keyboard is all black now and feels really nice to type on, although I will note that the keys are a bit thinner, and so typing on it was a little bit of an adjustment, and you can feel the difference even if you can't physically see the difference. So just something to note. But then again, this isn't that big of a problem because 99% of the time I do have my Razer Huntsman Mini docked to my computer, so I just use that keyboard, that mechanical keyboard, instead of the actual MacBook Pro keyboard. Now onto the biggest difference, the touch bar, or lack thereof the touch bar, on the new 16-inch MacBook Pro, which I'm not sure how I feel about this change, if I'm being honest. Personally, I use the touch bar to change my brightness or sound. It's just super easy just to have it up there already and be able to just slide the dial back and forth. But then again, I understand why it would be annoying to some people, and honestly, it's not that big of a difference. I mean, you just are changing something that is digital to physical buttons on the keyboard. So both of these computers, like I said, have 16 gigs of RAM and the base storage that they come with. The difference is that my computer is the first gen M1 chip, while the 16-inch MacBook Pro, it has the newest M1 chip, or the M1 Pro chip. Also, I have seen the benchmarks or the performance benchmarks on YouTube, and while the performance is better on the newest M1 Pro chip, the price point also reflects that performance, so just keep that in mind.
I upgraded from the i9 series 2019 MacBook Pro model, and this thing is a beast. When I had the entire Adobe suite, I was able to run Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, and Premiere Pro all at the same time, minimal sluggish, while also listening to music at high volume. Fan hardly ever kicks in. I use max fan control, so if it does get warm, which is not often, I can boost it up a little bit. If I were to kick up the fan right now, you can notice it, but it never does that. It never makes that sound. At most, it's what I call my general temperature control. Still almost completely silent. The notch actually doesn't interfere that much. The way this is designed is when apps go full screen, it will go around the notch. So if I were to open Microsoft Word, if I were to go full screen, it blacks out the entire top of the screen. You can't even see the notch.
Okay. So most of the time it doesn't interfere, would you say?
It doesn't interfere at all. And one of the bigger differences I noticed on this one over the previous model, or even the M1 13-inch, is the brightness. These are both full brightness right now, and you can see this one even has an edge up over the M1 Pro, or M1 regular. So we just cue this up, right? Even on the 13-inch, you got some really clear bass there. The treble is a lot more apparent here. But if you move here, the bass is well more defined. Hey, it's a holiday. I got hoes on hoes. But this one will deliver a way more powerful bass over the 13-inch because of size and the drivers that are in the speakers. Yeah. But I have tested the 14-inch and the speakers still hold up because there is a little bit more chassis space on the 14. Despite what Apple says about it being in the same footprint, they did widen the 14 just a tiny bit to accommodate the full edge-to-edge 14-inch display.
So in conclusion, I would have to say that if I could afford the brand new 16-inch MacBook Pro, honestly, I would probably go with that to have the extra screen real estate, although it's kind of tough because on my desk, I don't have the biggest desk setup, so it would be a lot more on the one side of my desk. So I would maybe also consider the 14-inch and just spec that out. But then again, if I am traveling and if I'm on the go, I would want that extra screen real estate for editing photos and videos. And if you already have the first gen M1 chip, I don't think you really need to upgrade to the second generation. I would say wait until 2022 and see what upgrades Apple has done to their MacBook Pros. The first gen is powerful enough where unless you really need the extra power and have the money to spend, I don't think that you need to upgrade to the newest M1 Pro chip. I think that the first gen is going to hold you very well until the newest edition of the MacBook lineup comes out in 2022. So I would say save your money and go with the laptops that Apple releases in 2022, because if they are already making this performance jump in 2021, just imagine what they are going to release in 2022. So that is my conclusion. Have you guys already bought the new M1 Pro? Have you bought the 14-inch or the 16-inch? I'm sticking with my 13-inch MacBook Pro with the first gen M1 chip, but I'm definitely going to be eyeing or keeping an eye out on the MacBook Pros that come out in 2022. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more content, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.